will join us in a little bit. We do have a quorum. We'll stand for the pledge then. Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public input? Lloyd, Joe, Karen?
Want me to call Max?
Could I be public?
You could be public.
Just as a matter of information, I'm going to have back surgery on Thursday.
Oh dear.
It's a minor stenosis kind of thing, and I don't believe it's going to affect my performance at the budget committee, but if I was unable to make it, I would certainly notify you ahead of time.
Thank you. I hope you do well. Where will you have your surgery?
In Concord Orthopedic.
We know that
Dr.
place.
Levy?
Oh, that's who
Mark
my husband
Smith.
had. We know him well.
There you go.
We're on the family plan with Concord
Okay.
Orthopedics.
Yeah.
Pam's back. This
Yeah,
fall.
yeah. There you go.
You
He
will do
saved my
well.
son's life.
There you go. He's my man, so.
Make sure
see
you
how
have
that
a finger
works
of it.
out. All right,
Okay, well, thanks for letting us know.
sure.
Let's start with our revisits. We have planning and zoning to start with. And let's see, this is because the funds for the master plan were not encumbered. So it looks like we're adding an additional 3,180, is that right?
That's right.
So that will bring it up to,
23,188.
pardon me?
23,188.
Yeah. And we had a credit at 2408. Any thoughts, comments? Do I have a motion?
When will we be seeing the master plan?
Next year, I hope. That's the information that we got.
Now, was this an oversight why the number was not included in the first one?
Right,
Okay.
it wasn't encumbered.
Okay.
It was there last year, but then encumbered by
Just an oversight, I think.
Just a question on the master plan. Are they gonna have to go through another survey update?
You'd have to ask Bill, because I'm not on the planning board.
I know when he spoke to us previously, he did indicate that they'd have some public hearings and then tidy it up. So, but we'll have to get to see, I know we're all waiting to see that. May I have a motion on the increase?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We've got 6-0 here, Karen. The next revisit is personnel administration, and this was a calculating error. Pardon me?
Math here.
A math error, yeah, on social security and retirement. If you want to see the specifics on the 11218 run, page 4, it shows the difference as well as here, so. Just a little math error. That, thank goodness, was caught, so whoever caught it.
Well, and she updated her schedules that are attached to, so.
Okay. Yep. Any comments on that?
I move that we approve the budget for 4155 personnel administration in the revised amount of $588,545.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? We've got 5-1. And Guy?
Same reason as before. I don't
Okay.
really need to repeat this over and over again, Carol, thank you.
Okay, well, I didn't know if you were taking issue to that part of it, or,
Oh, no, the math part of it, not a problem.
okay.
Sorry.
No, I think I need to ask those things. Okay, moving on to warrant articles. Perhaps we should take them one by one. Open that. Makes sense to everyone?
I don't know any other way you would do it, to be honest with you.
Well, that's true. Welcome, John.
Yeah.
Just starting in on warrant articles, we've already done the revisiting, okay? Article 3 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $43,000 to be added to the previously established Fire Rescue Department, SCBA, or Self-Contained Breathing Apparatus Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. The full amount, the $43,000, will come from the unassigned fund balance. This was recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 3-0. Any discussion?
I
We vote on this? Lloyd, I'm sorry. We did,
You did.
because my recollection was I wanted that language out, but I guess if we voted, it's done. But
We voted on the amount, the understanding was that the language could meet whatever the statutory requirement was.
right, my position being though that we're not taking money out of the undesignated fund balance to pay for warrant articles. That was, but
I'd have to double check, I think that language was in there, but we can revisit it.
that's all right.
Have the warrant articles gone to DRA for approval? Already?
I don't know if Diane got a chance to, I gave them to Diane, but I'm not sure if she got a chance to put them in the portal yet.
Can DRA revise the language?
They do, but I think it's up to the Board of Selectmen where the money, if
Right.
it's going to come out of the undesignated fund balance or,
And if it does, that's fine with me. I mean, if we voted on it and it's done, a done deal, then it's a done deal. But I just remember bringing that to the floor.
Yeah, you're accurate.
but it says 3-0 here.
I can add to that if you'd like.
That's fine.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
There was that,
fine.
you know that part that said
I'm
no
looking
money
for
to be raised from
recollection.
taxation?
Right.
That part
part
was
was-
taken out.
But during the work session on Friday, you did mention that you might not want that to come out of the fund balance, and you wanted to readdress it, so that's true.
So,
But it hasn't been
should
readdressed
we
yet.
table it then? Yes, got it.
Well, I would ask, because I was unable to go to the work session, what your, why you didn't want to take that out of the undesignated fund balance.
I guess it's a philosophical discussion that we're having about where the money comes from. My feeling was when you put wording into a warrant article that says no money to be raised by taxes, that plants the seed in the legislator's head that it doesn't cost anything. And historically, we've always put the warrant articles in as money articles, and then used the undesignated fund balance just to moderate the tax increases.
In total.
In total.
Yeah.
So that changed a year or so back, or maybe more than that.
Mhm.
And so I was looking to have that
Yep.
discussion.
I tend to agree with you, but that's,
I tend to agree with you too, I think.
I mean, we're gonna spend the money, or we're gonna put it in a trust fund for this particular item. It just makes accounting more difficult. I mean, last year, we took a significant piece of the undesignated fund balance out for warrant articles. So when we were looking at how to moderate the tax in October or September, you have to try to establish what the real number is that you've got for undesignated fund
Sure.
balance and what percentage of that you want to keep in the bank.
right.
So the more of these you do, the more impactful it is.
I'd like to see this modified.
So how would this be modified then? That,
Just taking the language out that it was going to come from the undesignated fund balance.
Well, then how does the legislative body know where the money's coming from then?
It's going to come from taxation, like all the rest of
Okay.
it.
Like any
Okay.
warrant article where it didn't say Federal Reserve.
But is this something that the Board of Selectmen have decided firmly on, or shall we table this at this point?
I guess we voted 3-0, so if you want to continue with this one, I'm fine. You know, shame on me for not standing on my rights. But, and and Lloyd's here, you can remind me of what we had done, or Karen can remind me. If we did vote 3-0 for this language in this warrant article, and I guess we've just got to let the budget committee vote on it. But going forward, it's going to be something that I bring up, just so you know.
Well, and we have all the articles here, so are you gonna bring
Well,
up next
and
year,
look-
or are you? gonna
Yeah,
bring it
next
up-
year,
Okay.
obviously.
Okay,
You know, and Bill wasn't there on Friday.
On
so
Friday.
wasn't any way to, and we wanted to get the warrant articles out to the budget committee. So,
Can we, on our, can we recommend, can this be done after our review and vote, subject to a revision?
I know one of the things we struggled with in the past is having the firm language in front of us before we voted. I encouraged Karen to get information to us so we could vote, and I think pretty much everything here, with the exception of 1 or 2, have been voted on by the selectmen.
okay, then I'll table my discussion about the,
Let's see,
Well, I would
That
be
doesn't
curious
make it
what it says in the minutes about the vote on it.
well, obviously it says a 3-0 vote. I'm just wondering whether or not we went through all the language on these things, because we did try to push our way through.
well, and if this
But,
is
and I'm
3-0.
and I'm fine, I don't want to muddy the waters, it's
Okay.
late in the day, so I'm fine if the
But
budget
if it was
committee wants to
3-0,
vote.
this wasn't voted on at the work session, this past work session, because
No, it
Bill
must have
wasn't
been
there.
before, Right.
So,
That particular day, I remember that, actually, if I remember correctly, there was initial vote to approve it as it was written, saying in no amount to be raised from taxation. And I remember Chip saying on one of the past warrant articles, he didn't like that wording
didn't
at
like
the
that
end of.
wording.
So I brought it back to them and said, do you want to remove those words? And so it remained the beginning
And
of
I
the
think what got
sentence.
taken out was no amount to be raised by
Correct,
taxes.
that's correct.
Which wasn't really the meat of the matter. So
okay.
at any rate, let's leave this, from my position, we can leave it alone and come back next year and try better.
Okay.
Try better.
Could we state both, in a sense, it to be raised by taxes or from the designated?
Well, and that, the wording has to come from the Board of Selectmen and DRA. You can't, the Budget
No.
Committee can't do that. So we'll be voting on it as it's written here,
Okay.
unless you want to table it. But Chip, you're okay with the way it is?
Yeah, I'm fine, I think we need to work our way through this, and
All right.
I don't mind easy once in a while.
And you know, keep in mind too, we have a little bit of wiggle room in regards to revisiting things. And if you go back and have a full Board of Selectmen meeting and say, hey, then let us know next time.
I will.
It could be even changed at the public session.
Yeah. Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Helen, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we've got 0 on that one. Karen?
Okay.
What's that, Don?
I wrote down 6, I'm muttering to myself, John showed up.
Okay, the next one here is Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,920,000 to renovate and expand the current library and to authorize the issuance of not more than $1,100,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA Chapter 33, to authorize the selectmen to issue and negotiate such bonds and notes and determine the rate of interest thereon and the maturity and other terms thereof. Further, to authorize the withdrawal of $410,000 from the existing library capital reserve fund and $416,000 from the library capital donation fund. The first payment on the note, or bond or note, will not be made until year 2019. This doesn't reflect the latest numbers, though,
No, it
does it? The latest numbers that I received just this afternoon was that as of December 31st, okay, the library capital reserve fund was 416,000, but then the library donations fund is 305,527, but they also have pledges of 122,000. So, Gordon, do you have any insight there?
No, just the fact of the matter, the language here says it calls for $410,000 in the capital reserve fund, which is really 416,000 plus
Right.
as of right now. Because this was written before with got all the numbers from the from the trustees of the trust funds.
Yeah, it's 416,797.
And
And then the
we-
donations,
The donations is a good figure as of today, or as of the other day.
okay.
The confirmed private pledges are good.
Mhm.
The long and the short of everything is that right now we're looking at balance to be raised or financed of $1,075,000 instead of $1,110,000, and the capital campaign is ongoing. So,
That's a moving target right up until.
Well, I think the presumption
Yeah.
is that once the town meeting is done, and we go out for a loan, that we'll have a different number.
But we won't be tied to only taking that amount out of the capital reserve, right? I mean,
Right.
you can take out what's there for the library.
Is the plan to leave in both of these accounts a balance?
I don't think the plan is to leave anything in the town's capital reserve account, but the library capital donations fund is
It's
gonna
gonna have-
probably have some
have a
additional
balance.
cash over time. But ultimately, the 1,000,001 is the maximum borrowed amount, so that's what we're getting quotes from the banks for. Sorry.
So you want to leave it at 1,000,001 then?
Well, I think for today, we need to leave it at 1,000,001.
Yeah.
If we want to look at this again before the public hearing, and nail it down a little harder. I mean, it'd be nice
because
to-
excuse me, Frank. Because the selectmen, we met as trustees with the selectmen last Friday morning, and because conventional wisdom now is not to go with a bond,
Right.
but to go for capital, to go through a bank for the capital, then it's much more fluid. 1,000,001 versus buying a bond for 1,000,001, which really locks you into that. But, you know, this is for, up to 1,000,001, not more. Obviously, we're $25,000 to the good right now.
Good.
Hopefully, by the time we get to town meeting, we're gonna be that much further along.
So let's.
By going with a bank, we don't have a prepayment issue, as we would with a bond.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
when we revisit this at the end of the project, we may find ourselves.
And understanding shopping
Okay.
around and places other than Meredith Savings,
Right.
Oh, yes, yes.
there's a
Jackpot
really
is very good news.
deal to be had. I think my question is, well, and we probably should table this because it says furthermore to authorize the withdrawal of 410,000, but there's 416,797 in the capital reserve.
Can't that be adjusted at town meeting and saying that the warrant
Okay.
article says this, but these are the true figures that we have as of tonight?
Oh, that's,
Could it be listed as to authorize the withdrawal of funds from the existing
No.
library capital? You have to have an amount in there?
Yeah.
I mean, once you throw it at DRA, they're gonna wanna know how you came up with it, so we have to account for all the money. They're gonna look at our reserve
Well-
accounts, and they're gonna, I don't know, they probably look at the library's donation accounts, so.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, well, if we don't have to worry about that,
And was Karen,
Mhm.
Article 4, was that to change the original?
That's, I don't know offhand what number it was, but to change the use, yep, we did, and
No,
where it
it's
doesn't
gonna be-
require money, it didn't come here.
mhm,
Okay, all right.
okay. Well, and this was voted on, Board of Selectmen 2-0. Bill was out of the office, he didn't attend this meeting, so. We can change it later,
And that's how the selectmen voted too. Yeah.
change the amount
Yeah.
later.
Mhm.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No?
Yeah, so, for this time being,
A no from, so we've got,
yeah, and my reasoning is, the wording, I'd like to see it go through DRA first, I feel like the wording is just a little, but otherwise it's a yes, the wording, I think.
okay.
Should be the wording or the dollar amounts?
It's the wording.
Oh, okay.
I feel like sometimes, maybe it's just last year, but it says that how things are gonna be paid for, this makes it, it's just the wording.
All right.
Okay, and Guy?
I could write a book, but I won't. Chief Shiguri has brought in some construction numbers, square footage kind of prices, from police stations that either have been or are being built down country that are so considerably lower than what this whole thing is based on, that I have to think that with the existing money, between the library's money and the town's capital reserve fund, we could build a pretty substantial addition on that building. And also, with the $1.92 million, we could build a standalone library using those figures. And those are downcountry figures. I also don't care for the fact that the construction management is not being put out to bid, nor the architectural work. I understand the library trustee's reasoning. I disagree with it. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yes?
No, I'm just wondering, do we know when these are gonna get reviewed by the?
I think they've been sent out, John. I think
That's what
Diane
just
sent
wait
them
till, like,
out,
the
we
next
just don't
meeting.
have it back yet.
Good.
Okay, so it was 5-0 on that one.
5-2.
Or 5-2, 5-0. I wish it was 7-0. That's just me personally. Okay,
Well, we're gonna come back to it, because I'm a yes, I just want the wording,
Okay.
it's,
we'll make a note that we're gonna revisit that one.
yeah.
Okay.
You're just not uncomfortable whether it's gonna be a bond or a mortgage type of
No, it's just,
situation?
I kind of, as I'm reading through all of these, I felt like last year it would say the amount, how it was gonna be raised. There was certain language that it seems like all of these are missing. And maybe I'm wrong, but last year there was a certain, it
Actually,
would
this
say,
is copied from last year, pretty much.
Yeah.
really? Because
Mm.
or maybe I'm thinking of,
It's not significantly
Because
different.
generally, you have the option to, when you go for your financing, to use available financing forms, whether it be through bond or
Yeah.
through mortgage.
yeah, no, I don't mind how, that's fine. This makes it, and maybe it is accurate, that we're raising the 1.9 plus the 1.1 plus the 800. But it's the 1.9 in total, right?
It has to be.
Yeah, see,
total.
but the
Right.
way that it reads to me, it sounds like we're raising the 1.9 and issuance of not more than $1 million bond. It should say something to the effect of to be paid for by the issuance.
We'll let DRA
Yeah,
figure that out.
that's, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
All right, we'll bring it back to you when we get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're appropriating and then you're issuing, so it's different. Let's see what they say.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 to replace the septic system at the Tuftonboro Public Library. This article is contingent on Article 5 not passing. If Article 5 passes, this article will be null and void, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 3-0. Any questions on that?
Has to be done.
Okay, I have a motion.
So move.
Okay, second
I'll
please.
second that.
Guy, second. All in favor?
Aye.
We've got 7-0 on that one. Karen?
Okay.
Article 8, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 for a study and design of a new or updated police facility. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen 3-0.
And in the subject, if the subject came up and for some reason the library's not approved, you know, the addition, no, never mind, I withdraw that.
Okay.
There,
Oh,
if I may,
yes.
there was some discussion on this between Chief Shiguri, the Board of Selectmen, et cetera. And if my memory serves me correctly, and that could be wrong, it was talked about that this might be, the project might actually be, I don't know how you want to do it, but put out to the general architectural and design people, the public, so to speak, to come up with a possible design. And then if they express enough interest and put out enough effort, then a contract might be awarded. Does the Board of Selectmen still feel that way? Is there, can we?
Yeah, I think the process is gonna be different than other processes.
Yep.
But really, the major discussion we had was whether to add $30,000 to the police capital reserve fund for the police department,
Mhm.
or to make this separate and distinct as a project design and management.
Which would finally start to get something moving in that direction.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Good.
I was at that meeting as well. I didn't sense a real commitment from our police chief as to where we were going. We hadn't decided where it would be, although I think at the meeting, we talked about the Dearborn property or the property right next to the fire
Yeah,
department.
across the.
That would be the Gould property.
Or the Gould property, yeah.
Right.
Did you have any more discussions on that?
Well, we did internally. I mean, there are benefits to each. And some of the cost benefits at the Dearborn property where we've done the subsurface already, way on that property.
Was there any discussion of the possibility of, like, for example, sharing the meeting room if it was on the Gould property?
We got into the design
Haven't got that
process.
far yet with the chief or anything.
But I think once we set up our parameters and start
Mhm.
interviewing architects, then we'll probably get a lot closer. And I'm gonna try not to spend any of this money.
And
That'd be
did,
perfect.
was there a reason why this money wasn't going to be taken out of the current capital reserve fund for the police department?
Because I think it's the same problem that we have with the library capital.
So you have
reserve.
access.
It's the wording of the original warrant articles.
Mm.
So this is separate and distinct from actually building a building. You gotta go through this process first.
But I would think that you, before you build a building, you have to have an architect, so it would fall under that.
Well, you need, you know. all
I
the-
suppose we could go in that direction, but we, in our
Yeah,
discussions,
but if we already have money in the capital reserve
Right.
for it, I wondered why the money wasn't.
annually, we've been putting
Yeah.
money away for police department.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just
And
wondered
do
why
we-
that money wasn't.
Do we invade that
Because-
corpus?
Well, you can't because the money was put in there under, with the stipulation that it not be used until the new facility had been approved by the,
Right.
So you have no access for the
That little glitch, okay.
preliminary plan.
This gets it done.
This pushes it.
this says, okay, let's at least get the plans
Right.
out there.
Right.
Right.
But the Board of
Start the process.
Selectmen, or no one's really decided where it's going to be or what's.
No,
But I think that would be part of the use of this money.
Of course.
right. All we've been doing currently is, or up to this point, is saving money. Now we're trying to figure out how to invest the money.
Okay,
what to do.
all right.
And how did we get the $30,000 figure? Is that,
That was brought to us by the police chief, and we had a discussion about what is the general cost for this sort of, and he discussed it with other police chiefs around the state, so.
Yeah, and that's for totally new construction, they go into your preliminaries, site analysis, site plan.
So you're gonna do pretty,
Permitting,
Right.
all of that.
all of that.
you'll do pretty much what the library building advisory committee did, interview architects
Oh, yeah.
and, I mean, we spent an hour each with, I don't know how many architects interviewing and asking them for their input, and we didn't pay for any of that.
Right, you shouldn't have to.
Well, the other thing is you'd have to go through your engineering studies for your site, site.
Well, we need to have a little bit of cash on
Yeah,
hand
you
to
do.
come up to the point next year or the year after with an actual, program, a schematic, design costs.
I mean, the
all rest
total
of it.
architectural fees on this is gonna be a lot more than $30,000.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But those are paid out of the,
Out of the total project.
bond or the note or
Right, the
whatever.
bond of the
Okay.
note, so.
Okay.
This is just this is,
I think that also Ballin also estimated the cost of a needs study and design to be $25,000 to $30,000.
Okay.
But we have a needs study that's been done, so can that be updated? Or do we have
well,
to start from square one?
Bowen did that, but
Right.
that was done based on the need for a renovation.
Right.
Okay, that whole interior design could change if you're building brand new on a new footprint, so it's.
but it really it doesn't take away from the actual needs.
No, it doesn't.
We know
No,
we need
the
this.
needs, the
Do we
needs
need
are
this in a new building? Do we need this in a?
The only subject that could
renovation?
come up was just discussed was a meeting room, and depending upon location and the ability to get back and forth to meeting rooms and things like. But the whole thing changes from the 5,000 square feet that they were looking at in terms of the renovation to the library building, as opposed to a new footprint, new construction, and so.
But with a specific, a professional needs study, like the library has done in the past, Gordon, you know what I'm referring to, where they come in and say, because you had people come in that knew libraries, so if you have people that come in and know what a police station is supposed to look like,
Well,
and what it's supposed to have.
right, the code is very important
Yeah.
in terms of meeting code, and so.
Okay, well, do I have a motion?
I thought you did it.
Did we?
Mhm.
Did we have it? Did we vote on this one?
No.
No, we haven't voted.
But we had the motion, then we started talking again, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's late.